So in this video what I'll be doing is I'll be creating a complete application which contains three services. As you can see, like, there are three services here, which is product service, order service, and the auth service. So this is going to be a complete application which I'll be writing in Node.js, and I'll be using RabbitMQ to as a queue service, and let's see how this goes. So let me explain what this each service does. So auth service is, as you know, it's used to register and log in a user, and product service is used to create products, and also it is used to buy products, and order service is has just one job, which is to create an order, and the order has the user ID and the products which are existing in that order, so something like that, which will be talking more into the application. And we also have an isAuthenticated file, which is more like a middleware, which will be checking if the user is authenticated or not. I have created a folder known as e-commerce microservice, and it's empty right now. And we will going to, as I said, we'll be creating three services. So let's create three directories. So let's name that auth service and product service, and final one, order service. So let's first go into the auth service, and let's initialize a package.json, and we'll be installing Express and JSON web token for authenticating request. I think we have zoom in, and JSON web token for authenticating requests. And we'll be needing AMQP lib, which is RabbitMQ's library, and I will be also needing nodebone for restarting the server automatically. So let's run that in the background, and also let's go into product service and also do the same here, and let's go into order service, and let's do the same here. We actually don't need JSON web tokens in the order service, I think, but let's keep that, maybe it will be useful. So it's installed in auth service here. So let's do index.js, which is the only file we'll be dealing with. So we'll be doing some boilerplate, like we'll be importing Express, and we'll be creating an app which is an instance of Express, and this service, the auth service, will be running at a port. So let's name that port variable, which is process.env. You can say port _1, or we can just say 7070. If it has a variable port 1, it will be taking that variable, or else we'll be going with 7070. And let's listen to this port, and the callback comes in. And we'll just log saying server, let's say auth service at this port. Okay, and let's use some middlewares like express.json to handle our body coming from the front end. So we'll be using MongoDB for this. So let's we actually forgot to install MongoDB. So for MongoDB, let's do mongoose. Let's install mongoose in not here but inside auth service. Let's do mongoose, and let's do the same for product service too. Let's install a mongoose library, and for the order service too. We have installed mongoose, so let's import that. Let's say mongoose is equals to require mongoose, and now we'll be initializing our database. So what we'll be doing is that for each service we'll be creating a separate database. So let's say mongoose dot let's connect to a database, and that would be MongoDB and /localhost / the name of your DB. So let's create auth service, and for this we will be needing some default flags to send, so that mongoose does not send us any warnings. Let's say use new URL parser true, and let's say use unified topology true, and then we'll be getting a callback here. Let's say auth service DB connector. So this is just to differentiate what which DB is this, does this belong to actually. Node index.js you can actually go into auth service and then do node index.js, and we can see it's running at 7070 and the authDB has connected. So let's just kill that for now. And what I want to do is I want to have two routes. One is to register and one is to log in. So for that we have to actually create a model. So what we'll be doing is we'll exit here and we'll create a new file, let's say user.js. Why we are doing is that because if you want to buy something or buy some product, you need to be logged in to do that, right? So we'll be creating a user.js here, and that's actually a model. So let's import mongoose and let's import schema, which is mongoose.schema, and let's say const user schema is equals to new schema, and that would be taking an object. This object would be the structure of our user's structure. So user is going to be having a name, which is a string. He's going to be having an email, which is also going to be a string, password, which is also a string, and he would be having a created at field, which is of type date, and the default value would be date.now. So because this is just to know when the user is being created at. So let's export this. Let's say module.exports is equals to user, and that's mongoose.model of user and user schema. So what this does is that we'll be creating we'll be inside this our auth service database. We'll be having a model named user, and for that user model we are giving this user schema as a structure for that model. So let's go into index.js now, and now we can actually import that user here. So let's say user is equals to require the user in this folder, and now we'll be creating let's create a first route. Let's say /auth/register, and it will be taking request and response. I'm using async because we'll be using await inside this route, so we'll be needing async for that. So for the register route, we'll be getting email and password, and also name from the client, right? And with these three entities, I want to create a new user. So let's create that. Also, before registering, we need to verify if the user actually exists with that email. So let's say if const user exists is equals to await user.find1 with this email. So if the user exists, then we'll just return a response saying message as user already exists. Else, if the user does not exist, we can go on to create a new user. So we can say const new user is equals to new user, and we can just give the name, email and password. Actually in the applications in production, we'd be hashing this password, but I just want to keep things simple. I can say new user.save to just save the user to DB, and after doing this we can just return rest.json new user. So we'll be returning the new user itself. So that's it for the register route. This is only what you're going to be doing. And now let's also do app.post/auth/login as well. So for login, we'll be getting email and password only from the body, and we'll also take the user, which is await user.find1 with this email. So now if the user does not exist, what we'll be doing is we'll be just sending the response saying return rest.json with message user does not exist. So we'll be stopping the user right here saying you can't log in because the user with that email does not exist. So if the user exists, then we'll be creating, now what we'll be creating is we'll be creating a payload, what we say in JWT. We are going to be creating a token actually. So in that token we'll be supplying a payload. If you have worked with JSON Web Tokens, I think we know what's a payload, what a payload is. So payload is something that which consists users basic details like email and name or something like that. So we can take user.name here, and we can put this payload into that token. So we can create a token with that payload. Let me show you how. So let's say let's import JSON web token. If you remember, we installed that, and yeah, we can say jwt.sign, which is signing a new token. For that, we can takes a payload, and the second argument would be a secret string for hashing its payload. So let's just be secret, and the third one is a callback, which contains the error and a token. So if there is error, I want to just console.log the error, else I want to return the token to the user. So we can say token is the token. Also, we forgot to do one thing, which is to check if the password is right or wrong. So before creating a payload, we need to check if the entered password is valid. So to do that, we can just compare the password which the user entered with the password which is inside the user object. If they are not equal, then we will return immediately saying giving a message saying password incorrect, right? So let's test this now. We have two routes, register and login. So let's test this. Before that, we need to run the server. So let's run that using nodemon. Actually, let's go into auth service and let's run nodemon, and we have the service connected, and let's open Postman now. So let's send this request to our backend, which is we are having this application on port 7070, and then we'll be sending this body to the register route actually. So let's send that, and let's see what's happening. So we have an error. So let's see what that is. So it's saying that the requested body is undefined. So I think the issue is we are using this middleware at the end of the file, but it should be top of the file. So let's restart the server and again send a request. So we're getting our user back. So a user has been created, and now we can log in into the same route as well. We'll be sending the email and password. So we get the token now, right? So we can use this token to authenticate the request for other services as well. So for that, what I'll be doing is, let's kill this. I'll just come out, and at the root of the service, I'll initiate a new package .json, and I'll install JSON web token here. So why I'm doing this is, if you know that I said we'll be creating an isAuthenticated middleware. So this does not belong to any of the services. So it just lies outside of all these services, so that they can import this middleware. So for that, we can just create authenticator.js, and we'll just import this JSON web token. And now we can just write, or we can export a function. We can just say export async function is authenticated. So since this is a middleware, it will be getting three params, which is request, response, and next. So now what I'm expecting, the header of that request is that it would be like bearer space the token, which is a long string. So I want this token, this one. So if you think this as a string, then what you can do is you can split that string at this space. So what this gives is an array with the first element as bearer and the second element as the token. So if I want to grab this token, I can just say of 1. because in 0 there is the bearer string, in 1 which we have the token. So I'll just grab that. Let's say token is equals to request dot, we actually this lies in headers, so like request dot headers of authorization. We need the authorization header, so we'll split that. So that's what the token is. And now what I want to do is I want to just verify the token. So I want to verify this token using JWT. We can say JWT.verify the token and the secret which we have given, which is secret if you remember that. And what comes out is the user. So we have a callback with error and user. So if there is any error, just print it, or else we can say request.user is equals to user, and we can just call the next function, right? Or we can say if there is any error, we can just return instead of the message would be error. So that's this is actually the middleware function, as I said, which means every service would be using this before hitting that route, right? If you're, for example, if you're buying a product, so before even hitting the /product/buy route, we'll be using this. You will be calling this function so that we know that the user is authenticated, and by the time it reaches that route, this request variable would be having a user variable. That's what this line is doing, and we will be just calling the next middleware so that it goes to the next middleware instead of just checking into this middleware. So I think this is just what we want. We are exporting it. That's what we need. So now we can go into, we know that auth service is working because we have just tested that. We can go into the product service, and we can actually copy the auth services index.js here. So we have this, and let's remove the login and register routes. And what we need to change is we can remove the user model, and we need to change the port actually. Let's run it at 8080 because we need to run different applications at different servers. And we'll be, instead of auth service, let's say product service, and here let's say product service, and the same here as well. In this diagram, what this diagram means is that how the services are going to interact with each other. So each service would be interacting with the queue. You can see that auth service here is an isolated service, which means it won't be interacting with any queues or anything like that. So any service would not be interacting with this. And we have this product service and order service, which sends and consumes into the RabbitMQ queue. So yeah, that's what it does, and these both and also both these queues interacts with the middleware because to authenticate the request. So let's dive into this, and as you know that we'll be using RabbitMQ for this both of the services. We'll be needing to initiate that. So let's create a function. Let's say connect. That's an async function. What this connect function does is that it connects to the AMQP, or we can say RabbitMQ. So you can say AMQP is equals to require AMQP, and inside this connect function you can say the AMQP server is equals to AMQP localhost, and it runs at port 5672. And now we can say, let's say channel and connection. Now we can say connection is equals to AMQP dot connect to AMQP server, so that it connects to the AMQP server and returns a connection. And we can use this connection to create a channel. So we can say channel is equals to connection dot create channel. And what we'll be doing is we'll be saying channel dot assert queue of product. So what this means is that we need to create a queue named product. That's what this assert queue does. It checks if the product queue exists, or you can say channel or queue, If that does not exist, it creates a new one, so that any problem does not occur in the future. So that's what it does. So we can actually call this function connect. This would not right now work because we don't have any server running at this port 5672. So to do that, let's open another tab, and so you can just do docker run, and you can run this container named RabbitMQ. And for the first time, it would actually take some time to pull that from the Docker image and then run that. So right now for me, I think it's already installed, so it would just open that. I think it's already running for me. I have another RabbitMQ port running at this 5672 port. So I think what happens if I do nodemon inside product service? Let's see if it's connecting or not. So what we forgot to do was to await for this connection. So we need to await when you create a channel, and also you need to await when you are connecting to a server. So let's save that. And it's connected, right? So we are not getting any errors, so we can make sure we can be sure that it's connected to AMQP server. So that's fine. We can now go on to create routes. So before even creating routes, we need to create a model for the product. So let's just do product.js to create a model for it, and it would be actually same as the user model. Let's just import that from auth service. So let's copy that, and then here we have user.js. We can just move that user.js to product.js, and we can just go into this, and we can just change things here. It's a product schema, and we can set product here. We want the model name to be product, and that to be product schema. And inside this, I want entirely a different schema. So if each product is going to have a name which is of type string, and each product is going to have description which is going to be of type string, and each product is going to have a price which is going to be of type number, and created at, which is similar to what we have for the users. So it's going to be of type date, and the default value is going to be date.now. And we can save this, and we can open index.js to import that. And so we can import product as just product from this current directory. And now we can go on to create routes, and the routes which we're going to create is create a new product by a product. Okay, let's create the first one. So we can say app dot, I think if you can see this, we can say app.post /product /create, and similarly async request response. And now the thing that I want to do is I want to have this isAuthenticated middleware here. So we need to import that to use that. So let's say isAuthenticated is equals to require isAuthenticated. Because it's in the root directory, we need to go back one directory. And now we can make sure that this request is going to have a user inside request.user. So we can access some variables like request.user.email or our name. From the body, we'll be getting name, description, and the price of the product. That's a request.body. And for this, now what we can do is we can create a new product. It should be new product with these variables: name, description, and the price. And we can just return the new product. Let's try to run this. Let's run this by saying inside product service, and say nodemon to run the server. I think we have got some error. Instead, this actually has to be like module.exports. and I think that should work. cd into product service and do nodemon, and we are connected to the product service. So now we can create the routes. That's the post route, so that's product slash create. So it's going to have a body which is of type JSON. You can just copy, maybe the name is going to be product1, that's it, and the description is product1 description. This is actually going to be price, so let's say it's 1000. And right now I don't think this would work, because let's try. This is actually running at port 8080. Right now I don't think that should work, because we don't have the header with the token. So what we need to do is we need to copy this token and then send that as a header. So let's try that again. So that's the authorization, and we have bearer, which we talked about this, and the token, and let's send that. Now we can see that we are being given a new product. What more we can do is that we can actually give who this product belongs to, or who this product who created this product. So that's a bit of a stretch, but I just want to keep things simple, as I said, so I don't want to make things complicated. So the create product is done. The next is buying a product. So now when you buy a product, this product service will interact with your order service, and then it would create an order for all the products created, or all the products you are buying. So it would be like, let's think of a flow, like user sends a list of IDs, which are product IDs, actually products IDs to buy. So it will be sending list of all the product IDs in an array to buy. So what we'll be doing is that we will be creating an order with those products, and also we'll be having a total value, which is a total value of sum of products prices. So that's the total value. So that's what you're going. But you can see that at any given point of time, the user must not interact with order service. It's we who are going to be interacting with the order service. So the user has no idea of what the order service is and what it would be doing. So let's create app.post/product/buy, and we need isAuthenticated middleware here, and async request and request response. So for buying, we will be getting a list of IDs from request.body. So you can use that IDs to buy products. So what I want to do is I want to get all the products which belongs to any of these IDs given. So products is equals to await product.find find by ID. So we can say underscore ID, which is an MongoDB variable. So I want to say in this IDs. So what this means is that it would be returning all the products list whose ID is in this IDs array. So that's what it would be returning, and we can use these products to create an order. So what we'll be doing is, I think before that we can go into this order service and we can initiate some things, like because it's empty right now, I think we initiated it, right? So let's do npm init -y, and we can install Express. I don't think we need JSON Web Tokens, but would be needing nodemon and AMQP library. I'll be just copying the index.js from product service into this file, and also I'll be copying the product model from the previous service as well. Now I'll move that product. Now what we have in this folder is we are having this product.js model. I don't want product.js, but I want order.js to be my model. So now let's go into order.js to create our own schema. So let's change these variables. So we can now create our order schema. That's order. So first, this would be having a list of products. So that would be an array, and inside each array we are going to be having a product ID, which is going to be a string. And next, what we are going to be having is the user. So this is the user's email actually. So that will be a string, and total value. So, or you can say total underscore price, which is a number, and we'll be having a created at field, which is similar to what we have created previously. That would be having a type date and default date.now. So that's the order. And now we can go into index.js, and we can just import order instead of product, and instead of product service we can build order service and just change the namings. And also, like we did, we need to change the port. This would be running at 9090 now because we have 7070 and 8080 going on, and the order service would be running at port. So let's remove these routes. Let the this connect function is actually same because we'll be needing that to connect to AMQP, but instead of product queue we'll be creating an order queue. So this is because we are in the order service, we need to create an queue named order instead of product. So now that order service has been set up, now what I want to do is I want to send products from this product service to the order service. We can do that using the channel variable here. So we created a channel variable, and in this line we also created a channel variable and assigned that to this variable channel. So now we can use that channel variable to say channel dot send to queue. So the queue we are going to be sending is order. If you remember, we just created that, and what it expects is the data, and you can see the content is should be in the form of buffer. So for that we can say buffer dot from. I want to JSON dot stringify. With these products, I also want to send the user's email, so which is request.user.email. So that's the user's email now. What this does is that it sends this object naming products and user email to order service. We can actually check that by because that the product service is not sending things to order service. The order service needs to wait for that, or you can say as it needs to consume what the product service is sending. Not just product service, if there are multiple services, it needs to wait and consume what the services are adding or sending to this order queue. So to do that, we can instantly after connect, we can just say dot then and have a function which instantly happens after the initialization. We can use this channel variable similarly to instead of you can see might have seen that we did send to queue in product service, but here we would be saying consume, and consume is going to be taking the first string, so which is going to be the queue name, which is order. So we need to listen to this queue, or you can say this queue, because we have created that queue. Because this is order service, this would be listening to the order queue. What it comes in return is the data, which means that the object which we sent from the product service in this case. So we can actually destructure that using products comma user email equals to JSON dot parse data dot content. So what this actually means is that you can see that we are sending buffer.from and we are stringifying everything, which means that this object would be sent in as a string. So we will parse the JSON data from this data.content. So what it's actually quite simple, because this data has an variable, or you can say key named content, which has the buffer of this string, or you can say the object in string, that is converted into buffer and put into data.json by RabbitMQ. We can just pass that buffer by saying json.pass data.content, and we will have the products and user email because we have sent that into this object products and user email. Let the console know that we are consuming, let's say consuming order queue, and let's just console.log the products which we are sending. So let's actually test this. Let's run nodemon. Let's go into product service and do nodemon, and inside order service let's go into order service and just do nodemon. I think, yeah, it's running. So let's go into postman, and instead of create would be sending by, and we have this product ID which we sent previously. Let's actually open another tab here. So that's a post request, and that would be /by, and we need to send the body. So just let's copy this ID because we are sending a list of or array of IDs to this API. So we can say IDs in an array, so we can have each string as an array item, and we can send it to product/by. And this is actually show that we are having this token also because we are authenticating user, right? So authorization would be this. And now let's try to send, and you can see that it's consuming from the order queue, but right now it's not, the array is empty. Let's go into that why it's empty, but you can see that queue elements are being inserted, so that's a good thing. When we created a product here in /create, we did not save the product, right? So we have this new product, but we need to do new product dot save to save the product. So I think that's what the issue is. So let's restart the order service as well. Let's insert create a new product again, and then insert that ID. We have this, and we can just put that into our body here, and then send a request. So now let's see, and you can see that inside order service we're having this array of products which matches or which belongs which is present in this IDs array. So let's create a new order. Let's say const new order is equals to, let's say, create order with products and user email. That's a function we have to we haven't written that, so let's put that up here. Let's create that function. Let's say function create order with products and user email. So what this order does is that we have a total value of 0, and we'll keep on adding the prices of the products. You can see that each product has a variable named price, so we'll just add that by saying for let t is equals to 0, t is less than products dot length. Because it's an array, we can loop through every object in that array, and we can say total plus is equals to products of t dot price, because each object is going to have a price value, so we can do that. And now we can do const new order is equals to new order, which is similar to we have done to products and user, and we can put products and user, which is user email, and the total variable. You can say total price, I think that's what and we can say new order dot save. Let's double check that with the order schema which we created. Yeah, it's the total price which we created, which is equal to the total price, and the user is going to be the user's email, and products is a list array of products. And let's save that and save and return the new order. So when you return the new order, we have this new order here. So we have created a new order, and as you know that when you insert some item into the queue, it would not be removed until you acknowledge that. So if you, since we have inserted 2 times, this would be the order has 2 items now, and the order queue has 2 items now, and those items need to be acknowledged in order to be removed from the queue. So we can just do that by saying channel.ack of data. So what this does is that this channel acknowledges the data which we are getting from this queue. So that's simple, and it marks it as that we have seen the order queue, and we have seen the order queue, and we can acknowledge that, and you can just remove that from the queue. And now we need to do something with the new order here. When you are calling the product service API, because we called the user has hit this route, you need to return from this route only, because you can't just return a response from some other service, right? So what we can do is we can again send to queue, which in this case it's going to be product queue, and the data is going to be buffer.from json.stringify. It's going to be a new order. That's what we're going to do. We are going to insert this new order into the product queue. So now this product has to listen to consume the items in the queue. Right now we are not listening, we are just sending to queue. In order to consume, you can just say channel.consume. As you know, we did that already. We need to consume from the product queue, and what comes back is the data. And we can just say where order is equals to json.parse of data. We can create an variable outside somewhere here, where order, and you can delete this, and you can just now return rest.json order. And now you can actually even console.log here, consuming product, what we put the queue. So actually you need to parse data.content but not data, because as I said, the buffer will be existing in data.content only. So let's restart this service, and then again, and you can see that we are getting a new order which has all the products in it. Right now this is the only product, and it has a user who created it, who created the order, and the total price of all the products. So this is actually the complete application. I think you know that we are creating services, and you can see that it's consuming from product queue these many times, but that's because we did not acknowledge the data, because as I said, because we are consuming from the product queue, we need to do channel.ack of data to acknowledge the data. So the next time, I think it would be every element would be acknowledged inside this queue, and this is, if you send this the other time, you can see that you can restart that to keep a track, and you can send, and you can see that there are just only 2 items now, and those 2 items are just the request we sent, and they have been acknowledged. All these previous items were also acknowledged. So now what's the special and what's the advantages of using microservice is that let's say our order API is down now, so we have killed the server, but this product service is running at port 8080. So what happens when I buy products, or when I hit this product/buy route, because this would be interacting with the order service right now, but the order service is down. So let's see what happens. So what actually happens is that we send the request, but the order service is not running. So let's send that again. So right now it's just giving me back the old data, not the new one, because we are not creating an order. So what really is happening is that we are inserting into that queue, but there is no one to consume from that queue. So when you restart, or when you start the server from the order service, you can see that it consumed 3 times, which is send the 3 requests just after starting the server. So that's what microservices are. So now whatever the order you have sent, it would be inside the database. If you go and do Mongo in your command line, and if you use the order service, which is the database which we have created, db.get collection names, so we can do db.orders.find. You can see all the orders which have been created by the users, and what you have consumed from the queue would definitely exist in this database. So that's it for this video. I think this is what I wanted to show you, all the queues and all the microservices which I have created. Also you can see that as I showed in the diagram, this auth service is an isolated service, and we use that only to generate tokens and to create users. The services which would be interacting with this RabbitMQ is product and order service. So yeah, thank you for watching, and if you do like the channel, do subscribe and like the video. Thank you.